Hey guys, it's been a long time in terms of talking about Melee. I've been mostly playing Tetris and playing poker and doing some other stuff. Got a world record in Puzzle Fighter, so I haven't really been streaming and focusing on Melee content, but I figure, hey, might as well talk about a few things. And I think one of the things that was on my mind, so with Armada retiring, I know I'm a little late on this. And, PPMD, for the most part, out of the scene. Maybe he makes a comeback. I kind of wondered, what the health and state of the game would be if all five gods were no longer playing. And back in 2015 or 2016, if we said that the top five original gods were retiring, or they were no longer part of the scene, or they disappeared completely, would Melee be able to survive? Because these are the five players that have carried the narratives, the rivalries, top eights, grand finals. There's a lot of history between all five of them: Armada, Mutaking, Mango, Hungrybox, and PPMD. What if they just completely disappeared? Would other players be able to step up? Are there other, charismatic players? Would there be a narrative? It's kind of like if tennis got rid of the most consistent players at the top, would people still be excited? Or if you had an open field with multiple people winning, would that be more exciting? Or do the personalities that are the biggest in the game right now with the five gods, do they carry Melee too much that we'd be losing a lot if they disappear or they retire, and so on and so forth? So I thought about it in 2018. Back in 2014, I think it would be a huge blow, considering the documentary just recently coming out, and a lot of people following these big players, and when they associate Melee, they think of Hungrybox and Mango and Mutaking, but what if they disappeared? But in 2018, when I look at the meta and I look at the new players that have grown and established themselves as top players, as top 10 level players, I can actually see a world of Melee where if all five players disappeared for whatever reason, Melee would be perfectly fine. And in fact, it might be better in some ways and exciting. And what I mean is, let's say instead of the original top five, we brought in and ushered in a new set of players with Plup, Leffen, Wizrobe, Zane, Amsa, Axe, and a bunch of the players just right below them: SFAT, S2J, Nunn, Lucky, Westball, Swedish, and all those, interesting players. I think we would still have a really exciting bunch of players. And if we look at the metagame at the top, we have Plup with Sheik and Fox and the occasional Samus. We have Leffen as this top Fox when he's playing really well. It just looks beautiful to watch. We have Zane with his, modernized Marth. We have Wizzy with his Falcon. We have Axe and Amsa, the low mid-tier favorites. That can create some upsets here and there. And overall, that I feel like it is a very exciting and a diverse set of characters, playstyles, and personalities. And I think what's really cool here is now that they are getting the limelight, or shine, I can't think of a word on top of my head, but since they are becoming the center of attention at these bigger events, because they're making it farther, they're going to be at the summits, we're going to be able to see a little bit of their personality, their quirks, and create some humor and get to know them better, so that we as fans can identify more with them, as opposed to just these players that play Marth or Falcon. Granted, Wizzy is a little bit on the quiet side, but to be honest, I think Zane has a really low-key, really humorous side to him that people don't really know. I think there's a lot to be explored with Amsa, with Axe, even though he's a long time old school player. So there's still a lot of stories to be told about their backgrounds, where they come from, that we don't quite know. And I think that would be really cool if in 2020 and beyond, we would see I don't know, Samox create another documentary about the five new gods of Melee, or whatever the designation is. So, what? I think that, on one hand, it's really cool that we see this long legacy of, quote unquote heroes that have carried the game. They have, a proven history of success. Mango's, aggression, Armada's consistency, Hungrybox's clutchness, Mutaking's Marth, PPMD's methodical neutral. They've all defined and put their imprint into Melee history. It'd be sad to see that day when they all finally, move on from the game. But I think Melee is in a strong enough state that it's actually okay, and it will survive if those players were to disappear from this scene. So all in all, I think, you know, with Melee, we've survived sequels, you know, blunders with Nintendo, just like everything you could think of that could shut down Melee, when you compare it to other esports that have been shut down by sequels, developers, you know, boredom, patches. Melee has really stood the test of time, and I really do think that if all the current top players left and we brought in a new group of top players, we'd be okay.